Welcome back to another episode of Cobra Kai Companion. I'm Peter. You guys, very special interview today. We just dropped, or Netflix just dropped, part two of season six, Cobra Kai, and we got a brand new character, Axel Kovačević, played by Patrick Luwis. Patrick, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks so much for bringing me on. It's fun to be
Yeah.
here.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. I love hearing people's stories and stuff like that. And we're gonna jump around all over the place. I remember one of the first leaks. I don't know if you got a pulse on the fandom, but one of the first leaks that came out during production was you on the beach with Mary.
I know.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
So if you can kind of recall that time and things were leaking and we didn't know
Yeah.
that it was Patrick Lewis yet. What do you kind of remember around that time?
Well, it was really fun for me because I don't have like an existing fan base because I haven't like the projects I've worked on have been, some stuff a little bigger, but bigger projects, but smaller characters that didn't really warrant that kind of like following or so it was very foreign to me to just it was like the first taste I got of the fandom for the show. I mean, I forget who it was. I think maybe Mary tipped me off to it. She's like, "Hey, like I saw this thing on TikTok or I saw like somebody was filming us and they posted it and I just saw it had all these I was like, "Oh my God, like look at all these likes and these comments and these fans with their theories." And it was just so interesting to see and exciting just to see how that's like this tiny little thing months before the show comes out. My character hasn't even been introduced, and they're already just like, people are already getting excited and theorizing about like what's going to happen and who this person might be. So it was really fun. It gave me a taste of like what the fandom's like.
Yeah, the fandom is wild. It ranges from like some really great stuff and some really, not so great stuff in terms of like spoilers and leaks. Like I
Yeah, I
think,
know it's a bummer when that happens. I do get a little bummed out when you see people just spoiling stuff for the sake of spoiling it. It's like just to almost like ruin someone's day. It's just like you see sometimes comments that are just spoilers or people trying to like push some spoiler idea that maybe isn't even true. And I'm just kind of like, hey, why do we have to do that, you know?
yeah, I think having covered the show since the beginning, the biggest one for me was seeing Billy and Sholo wearing the red Eagle Fang geese.
Mhm.
And when that surfaced, we were all like, "What the hell is that? Wait, what happened?" Like
Right.
we thought they were working toward being friends and all these things, and now all of a
Right.
sudden Miyagi-Do and there's this red gi. What's that about? So yeah, it sucks,
Yeah.
and
Bummer.
at this point we still have 10 episodes left, so like part two hasn't dropped, and so I just
Yeah.
hope
I mean,
people are about that last episode.
and it's gonna be so good if you don't spoil like you don't want it to be. It's so much more exciting as a fan. Like I know people had to be patient with like waiting for the show to come out. Everyone's like eager to see the next parts, but it's like it'll be worth it when it drops. It's gonna be great.
100%. After just finishing up part two not too long ago, I'm like, okay, if I could, I want to kind of recommend to everybody stay off social media because you don't want episode 10,
No.
spoiled.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
no. You want to have that. You want to live that, in the moment. You don't want to have any idea of what's going on because it's such a shock. It's such, I'm sure for you,
Yes.
watching, it was like, oh my God. And I know what happens and I still saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. You know what I mean? So it's for somebody who has no concept of what is going to happen in that episode, then for the brawl to, break out. Man, it's crazy.
Right. And
Yeah.
so, addressing the viewers and listeners at home, if you have not finished part two, please stop at this point because this will contain spoilers. It's just the nature of the show. So, give you guys this chance right here. So, Patrick, before you booked the role, what is your history, if any, with like the Karate Kid and Cobra Kai?
When I got the audition for the role, I had only seen the first episode of, or not the first episode, I'm sorry, the first season of Cobra Kai.
Mm,
And I had seen The Karate Kid when I was much younger. But it had been a while since I had like a refresher. So I didn't for the audition, I was like, I'm not gonna go back and watch every just for the audition, but I put it on tape and then I got the call back. And that's kind of when I started reintroducing it into because I really enjoyed the first season when I watched it like maybe a couple of years prior. I just life gets busy and things. I just like didn't, there's so many shows. I just like got caught up in other things. And then I revisited it when I got the role and kind of got back into the world, which was great. It's really exciting. But I always say, I think there's a pressure when you're a fan of something or you're watching a show. And even in other instances where I've auditioned for something that I've really liked or been a fan of, which doesn't happen that often, but if you get that opportunity, there's almost this like pressure because you know it so well and you care about it already that you just want to get it right. And sometimes it's nice to not have that as an actor, it's almost like better to be like, I don't really know what this show is. I don't know what it's about. I'm just going to do my best. And. So I think as I was watching the show after I got it, I was like, oh gosh, like I'm about to be in this. This is so weird, It's so weird to think about it like that. But yeah, that was sort of my knowledge prior to getting the role. And then obviously like when I got it, I revisited that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So Iron Dragons aside, right? Having seen The Karate Kid and then all the various seasons of Cobra Kai, which version of any dojo do you think you would have wanted to be a part of? As yourself, not
Me,
a
Patrick?
character.
Yeah.
Yeah, as Patrick.
I think Miyagi-Do. I feel like that aligns with like who I am as a person and their ethics, I guess, and values. Like I think I align with that. Cobra Kai obviously is like pretty badass and that'd be cool. But I mean, yeah, I feel like Miyagi-Do would be where I would probably land. Um, I would say.
Even so, Miyagi-Do still over like Eagle Fang or even Johnny's Cobra Kai?
I do love, honestly, you know what? You're right. Johnny's Cobra Kai, actually, I think I could, because he's like my favorite character. I love him. So I think maybe, yeah, actually, that's a good point. I think maybe it would be between Johnny's Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do. Maybe I would go with Johnny's Cobra Kai because I would just want to be around him. Be fun to learn from him and just be around that guy. And you know, yeah, like
Yeah.
I like what his teaching style.
Yeah, the first couple of seasons, it was very special and so unique, and the show has gone, I don't want to say like in a different direction, but I don't think anybody like during season two or even three could have seen it head this way, becoming Miyagi-Do as a whole. We've always thought it was going to be like a combined dojo with a different name, so that's kind of interesting. Um,
Yeah, it is.
so booking the role of Axel, what was Axel the only thing you auditioned for?
Yeah, Axel was the first time I had ever auditioned for the show. I know you've spoken with Brandon, but I think he had gone
Mm,
out for the character in like season one, which is pretty cool to have like, and I think maybe even Daniel did as
hmm.
well.
Both of
Um,
them, yeah.
but no, this was the first time that I had gone out for the casting office. I knew pretty well. I had auditioned for them a bunch of times, and I love them. They're great. But I had never gone out for the show before. And it's when I actually remember getting the audition, and there were two things immediately that I was just kind of like, the only thing that resonated that I felt like, okay, I could maybe do this was so in the character breakdown, it was like it needs to be 6'3" or above, which is good because I'm 6'3". So I was like, okay, I can do that, I guess. And then it said karate machine, martial arts experience preferred. And then also that the character would be speaking in an accent, like it had to be international. And both of those things, I was kind of like, when my manager had pitched me the idea, I was like, yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to do. It's a great show, but I just don't know if I can do either of those things. So I almost like wrote it off as like I'm probably not gonna be the guy they pick. They're probably gonna go with someone who has martial arts experience. Because of course, when they cast Brandon, they cast Reina, these two people who are incredible martial artists. Daniel's great. So I just felt like, they're probably not gonna go with me. And when we went back to or when I went into Sony for the callback and we went through everything and we talked, they brought it up and they talked to me about my experience and I was like, look, I've played sports, I'm athletic enough, but I've never done any of this stuff specifically. And they really took a chance on me and I feel like it worked out. And thank God for the stunt guys, everyone that helped me get to where I needed to be. Was great, and I'm really pleased with how it looks now, and almost like amazed that we were able to make that happen. Given
Yeah,
where I was before we started. Yeah.
right. And having interviewed several people over the years, there's been times where the actor isn't exactly what was being asked for, and then they'll kind of like make some changes as necessary because that's the actor that they end up liking.
Mhm.
Was Axel, your version of Axel, was that basically what they were looking for, or did they do anything different because like Patrick gave us this and we like that?
That's a great question. I think that I think when I got the role and John called me and he called me and congratulated me and also just sort of, he was like just walk me through like the character arc, which was really helpful. And we got to discuss then and pretty much everything they had in mind for the character. I feel like that's kind of how I was playing it. Um, so it wasn't anything like I think the biggest thing was deciding where's this guy going to be from, and also there were obvious like comparisons to Ivan Drago
Mm.
and Rocky, and like like there were these comparisons and these kind of like preconceived ideas of what he was going to be like, and then obviously like you obviously bring your own thing to it, like in some ways. But no, I mean, I feel like we were very much on the same page, and I think where maybe I had an advantage was I have never played a character like this. I've never played he's described as this like karate machine and just sort of like real presence in this guy. You're like a bad guy in a lot of ways, but also has this softer side, this vulnerability. And so that was a learning curve for me doing that stuff. But the vulnerable side, I felt like that came really natural to me. Like the line we did earlier and like that stuff felt more like me. So I think that's where maybe I even accentuated that a little bit more than they were planning it to be. But yeah, they were great. It really, I feel like we just aligned on what we were going for, and they seemed pleased the whole way along. And yeah, I didn't really I think it was pretty like straightforward. Yeah.
Yeah, I that the Drago comparison didn't even like I didn't even pick up on that, but that makes a lot of sense because like the couple viewings that I've gotten in, I was just like, man, what's up with the Frankenstein thing? Like the stare down to Miguel, and
Yeah, I
so
know.
I like that. Was there ever any talks of like possibly like giving you a buzz cut, like bleach hair or anything like that?
Okay, that was okay. Yeah, that was the one thing I was. Yeah, that's really funny. That we did discuss a haircut in the callback, and my hair was about what it is now. Like I typically have my hair a little bit longer. Um, and I went in and they were like, "Hey, are you open to?" A shorter haircut, and which totally works more for the character. One, my hair looks, I think, too much like Robbie's hair, so we needed to have some sort of to differentiate in some way. And also, I just think for the character, it just worked better. Like when I got the haircut, I was like, oh, this makes sense. But I will say, like when we were doing the hair tests and going through, I was like, oh my gosh, I felt like the first time I saw my haircut, I was like, oh my God, I look like such an idiot. This is not going to work or something. And they dyed it a little bit. We didn't go as blonde, but they did put some highlights in there. But I think what we landed on was great and ended up working. I'm happy that we went with that and didn't keep my hair as it is now. I think it would
Yeah.
as well.
Now you get the role, and now you got to kind of get into character. Frank Helmer, who is the department head for wardrobe, can you talk about like yeah, just doing kind of seeing your gi for the first time and working with Frank?
Yeah, Frank, he's incredible. He designed all, I think it was, I don't know how many different teams it was, I forget, but
16.
16. Yeah, I mean, and he had you know, a gi for every, it was incredible what he did. I felt like our gis were especially not to not to like I guess I'm a little biased obviously, but there was something about the material, like the canvassing. It was just sort of this I love the color, I like the logo, I liked everything. I like it just felt like it was really I really liked it. And they also had this like the texture was a bit like firmer. And when you would do moves on the mat, like in the fight scenes, it had this sort of like pop to it. And so when you'd make do like it almost like everything you did, every punch you threw or a kick, it gave this like pop and it just made you sound even cooler and like more intense. So I think yeah, I think our gis were great for that reason. And I just thought the look was awesome. There were whispers on set being like, man, the Iron Dragons really got like lucky with those. So
They do. The style of it, not like the makeup of the fabric or anything like that. Like some of the scenes and
Mm.
whatever we were able to kind of see in like the photos, it kind of reminds me of like that alternate, Power Rangers, fit from the first movie in 1995.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've seen that one,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's like there's just some cuts of the fabric that made me like, oh, man, that's kind of what it looks like that the ninja look. Is the color kind of like olive green?
It's more of a God, I'm I'm terrible with colors, but I'll say it and Frank's gonna be like, God, that's not what it is. But no, I think it's more like I want to say it's like more of a gray. It has like more of like a gray tint to it, but maybe there's a little bit of green in
Okay.
there. Guess we'll see clearer when it, but yeah, no, I think it's less olive and it's more of a gray, I would say.
Yeah, I would wear like a military styled version of the top of that gi. Like if it
Yeah.
was
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
if they added
It's really cool.
zippers, it
Yeah, oh,
looks
100%. Yeah, no,
yeah,
it's really cool. I loved it. I was really happy when I saw them. I was like, yes, this is so great.
yeah.
They're not the most
So
comfortable thing to wear though. Like when you're first breaking a gi in, it's like because I don't do martial arts, so I didn't know. But it's like your neck is chafing and you got like they're really stiff and you have to so anyway.
So you get the roll up Axel, right?
Mhm.
And we don't know the exact order if you go see Frank first or whatever. But can you talk about like being the new guy, right? Not only just like in season 6, but part 2. So you mentioned like Brandon and Daniel, Sung Ho, all these guys who were already introduced in the first part. What
Yeah.
was it like for you coming in during production?
Well, I was lucky that it wasn't. I think it would have been harder if it was just me coming in alone. But I had Reina who plays Zara, and I had Lewis who plays Sensei Wolf. Like we kind of all came in together, and obviously because we're in the same dojo, we had a lot of scenes together. So I got they're both so nice, and we got really close quickly. So it was great to have, and also just like Brandon, Daniel, everybody who was, we all were kind of staying in the same hotel and we all got very close. So that was great, and also the cast as a whole, all the existing characters are all just everyone's a good person. Everyone's just so nice and welcoming. Literally everybody from like the creators to the directors and the producers, like everybody in the cast, like everyone was just very welcoming and made it feel pretty instantly like a big family and really supportive. And because I think that's what makes the show good. You need that. You can't have divas and people who, don't want that group mentality, or else you're just gonna, I don't know, you push people away, you give people nerves. And for me, especially coming in, not having done any fighting before and feeling a little bit nervous about that already, having people lift you up in that is really important. If people are kind of like, oh God, this new guy is supposed to be a good fighter and like look at him, he doesn't know what he's doing. That would have been terrible. So thank God they were just great, really supportive.
Yeah, it sounds like, it's just one big family, and it always starts at the top. Josh and Hayden are just really great dudes, and everybody just enjoys working for them.
They really are, yeah.
Yeah. So Axel, okay, so let me see how I phrase it. So obviously we can't talk about part 3 at all. Watching part 2, I had a lot of questions about the character. Um, are you did you have to come up with any sort of backstory? And um and if you're unable to say, is it because we're gonna learn a little bit more about him in part 3? It's kind of a weird phrasing of it because I'd like to get to know about Axel a little bit more, and we just don't know where.
But yeah, I think I can. I mean, to tell you the truth, man, there like I didn't really sit down and come up with some elaborate backstory. I mean, I knew like what was in the I really just like worked with what was already in the text. I mean, there was, he's obviously kind of raised since birth, like in karate and fighting. So you kind of and then you see the dynamic that he has with Sensei Wolf, and then the dynamic that he has with Mary. So you're seeing a lot of him like just in the text. Like you're seeing kind of what he's been through in like the martial arts world and why that's important to him and what he's been conditioned to care about. And then you see him interacting with a girl that he has a crush on. and how that's such a foreign thing to him, and it's very new, and he's not really sure how to go about it. And you kind of see his like emotional immaturity in some ways with like the Miguel situation, like him getting angry at Miguel, like for so it's like you really get all, like you get
Yeah.
all of that. That's why I think he's a really great character because he's very dynamic. Like it's not a one note thing. You see a lot of, different sides to him.
No, you really do. And I was picking up on kind of all of those like undertones, but I was just like, man, I don't want to kind of fill in these gaps myself if we're gonna get some more later on. But it kind of reminded me of this like early 90s movie called Soldier with Kurt Russell, where these children, they were literally raised to be the ultimate soldiers as they grow up. And I feel that's kind of what we get with the dynamic between Wolf and Axel, like you said, from the little training where Sam walks by and sees like the abuse,
Right.
it's just like you're not doing this right, like and it's just really drilling the whole karate into him, and the little bit of like humanity when he is or like in the presence of Sam, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I know. I think that I love that I felt very lucky that they did that for the character. I also think just like like selfishly in some ways it's nice that they made the character somewhat likable, like hopefully he's likable and you understand him a bit more. Like I don't know if people he still obviously has his moments of I don't know. I think hopefully people will feel for him in a sense and see, like you said, the more like humanistic side. Just I don't know, like seeing different shades of him, being like, oh, okay, maybe he's not this big bad guy that we thought he was when they first introduced him in that, in 606,
right.
with the introduction when we fight Cobra Kai. I mean, yeah.
We'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there very soon. Just got to touch on, so we're talking about like the stare down, but I that is one of my favorite like comedic moments. Is just Miguel is just like look at
Like, what are
like the
you
whole
looking at?
look he's just staring and it cuts to
Right.
Axel. It's
Just I
hilarious.
know. It's so bad. That
So
was actually a very funny thing to film too. Like I could not stop laughing because his face, like Cholo's face was cracking me up every time he looked over. It took longer to shoot than you would think because I was just cracking up.
I got a glimpse of it at the aquarium. I got to watch filming there.
Oh, you did? Okay, no way.
Yeah, that's why I asked you, so a little aside there. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Because I was like, wait, was he there? Because I remember the other really
Yeah.
tall
Oh,
dude.
that's right. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was there. I was
Because
not there for the
you're part of the
kicking
group
scene, but
photo,
I was part
right?
of the group photo. So I was there
Right.
like briefly. That's so cool you were there. Yeah, dang. I wish we could have,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. That would have been nice because I got to meet Reina. So
Maybe we did, or did we not? Maybe, yeah, I guess maybe we didn't.
not an
Okay.
actual introduction because that's when I met like Brandon and all those other guys too.
Gotcha.
It was the kicking scene where they tried to kick the highest.
Right. Okay,
So
gotcha.
like yeah. So that made sense because I was like, well, I remember the other tall dude, but I don't remember like another tall dude. So um
Gotcha.
so when the trailer comes out and we got this exclusive clip of the Iron Dragons, did you have like friends and family reach out and just kind of go wild at your like seeing you on screen?
Yeah, people were really supportive and excited, which is great. I mean, I shared it on my Instagram, and I think that's how a lot of people saw it. So yeah, I mean, I had like fans and those people reaching out, and then also just friends and family being who have been anticipating the show, and like we're just very excited to see a little glimpse of what it's going to be like. So it was awesome, man. I love that. It was a really exciting time, and it was great that they pretty much, with the article release, like I feel like they normally on deadline, like they typically announce stuff upon like getting the role within like a couple weeks. So it
Mm.
was crazy. Like we had finished filming already, and then they announced that. Then the trailer came out. Then the clip came out. So it's just been like boom, 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 all this stuff. So it's been crazy. Just the fandom and yeah, just with family and friends being excited. So it's been nice.
Well, one of my favorite things to do for the podcast, and people really enjoy it too, is when we break things down and like over analyze things. And one of my favorite things to see from Axel in these early previews is like that hand gesture thing that you do, like a
Yeah, my yeah.
yeah. Can you talk
Um,
about that and how did that come about?
yeah, definitely. So I want to get this right. so you might have to fact check me later. I can ask him and figure it out. But I think my stunt double Matt Mullins came up with that, or one of the stunt guys. I believe it was him because we felt like he needed to have like a signature celebration. Like it just felt like he needed to have something in those moments after a fight, you know? And that felt so cool. And I don't know how he came up with that specifically, but I remember when he showed it to me the first time, I was like, man, this is awesome. This felt like, you know, and I think seeing it in the scene that where our characters are being introduced, just kind of like, oh whoa, man, these guys they just took everybody out in 2 seconds and they got these celebrations. And it's just like, who are these guys? You know? So yeah, I thought that was really fun. Yeah. I don't know
Yeah,
how many other
it's
times I do it. I'm trying to think of I feel like my
that I think just at one time, but it really stands out, and that's a really great decision to have because this is a guy that's had a lot of victories. Sam mentions on the beach that like, hey, nobody's been able to score a point on you. Like
yeah,
you're learning so much, and that celebration, that victory is like this guy's been doing it for a long time. That he
yeah,
has one. Can you
absolutely.
demonstrate in slow mo what
I
it
mean, yeah, so it's like an elbow and then like a boom. Like yeah, so it's kind of like an
uh,
elbow and then it's
uh.
finished.
You're
It
probably
sounds
the only
better with
one
the
with
cape.
one, you
What's that?
know. You're probably the only one with one, so
I know. I guess Raina's got her little like she does her kisses to the crowd. So
I
she's
mean that's just
that's
everybody
just
plays with
you
kids,
know,
but
that's
who's
just
got
weird.
who's got one of these? That's
I
that's
guess
like
no,
it's
yeah,
all
I
over.
guess that's true.
Yeah, when the official account shared that, I was all like, man, Axel's out here throwing gang signs.
Was that you who said that?
Yeah, yeah.
That was such a funny comment. That was you. Yeah, I remember being like, "This is such a funny comment." That's awesome,
Thank
though.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we get ready to wrap up, I'm really excited about part three, because man, that finale. Not gonna lie, I thought Axel was gonna get stabbed. I did not see that coming.
I know. I think that's the other thing too. When he does pick up the knife, like I'm sure people are just gonna. This is what I think. I feel like people are gonna be like, "Oh my God, he picked up a knife. What is gonna happen?" I highly doubt because there hasn't been a really a young death in the show, right? So it's like I think
Right.
people are gonna be like, "No, there's no way someone's actually gonna die in this moment," and like, yeah, and people are probably gonna be like, "Oh my God, Axel's gonna die," or "There's no way Kwan's gonna," or like, and then just the way it happens is so. Oh, it's so crazy, man. It's like
It's
chills. Yeah, it's I can't
it's
wait for
it
people to see.
yeah, it's wild. And the way it ends too, I'm like, no, like it I was telling somebody recently, I go, the way I felt about that finale was the same way I felt about Miguel falling down and breaking his back.
I know, I know.
It was like a similar reaction. I'm like, that's how it ends. Like what,
I,
so
I know it's such a cliffhanger. People are gonna be like, "Oh, how do I?"
yeah.
Yeah, it's. I know that's gonna
Yeah.
be, but crazy.
So let's end it with this. I know you said you didn't have like much of the experience and in your background in terms of martial arts and stuff. Can you talk about like filming the platform, sequence, and then just kind of like the brawl in the finale because it's
Yeah.
just so many moving parts.
Yeah, no, it was so the platform sequence was that was one of the earlier fights. I think I had filmed that may have been the second one that I had done. So and then Raina and I had to do that simultaneous, like round like tornado kick where we're spinning around. And I remember just like workshopping that with Mary and Tanner were helping me out on the side, and we just were like going over, and they're like, "Yeah, it's kind of like you're lifting your leg over a bicycle seat." And I was just trying to get it because we had to, really nail that, and it was not an easy move to do. Like it was like this is, again, I had no experience, so that was a real challenge. And like early on with those fight scenes, it's like the character really needs to look like he knows what he's doing. So there's an extra pressure to get that right. I'm really happy with how that stuff turned out. But yeah, like that was tough. And then uh the the brawl scenes, that whole we shot that in maybe like 2 days. And we had all the maybe day and a half, I don't even know. But it was so much stuff. I mean, like, because I had to learn the entire fight with Robbie. And then I had to go from that into all the different brawl sequence stuff. But I'm so happy with how all that turned. Like I love that scene. It's so fun to watch, you know.
Are you ever gonna end up on the Lobos podcast?
Oh, that'd
I
be
don't know
fun.
if
I would love
uh,
that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
haven't talked
why?
to Phil and Jacob about it, but that'd be really fun.
Man, okay, so the reason I bring that up because I remember in one episode Jacob talked about like how many like a specific fight sequence and how many beats it was.
Yeah.
And so like that's not something I'm privy to. So do you know like for the big brawl like how many beats there was for you to learn?
Um, man, I was told on like I wish I had a number for you. Like I don't even I'm trying to remember how much like a standard fight was, but it's a lot. I mean, it was a
Yeah,
lot of stuff. Yeah, and some of the stuff doesn't even make it in. Like there's like different, like sometimes they're just splicing up. So sometimes you're learning even more and they're like having to cut it in a way where maybe some stuff doesn't make it in. But it was a lot. I mean, because like between that, the fight with Tanner, obviously, with Robbie was a lot. And then that was like a decent amount of beats. And then those little moments in between. And then the stuff with Quan, so it was a lot of stuff. I didn't really sleep the night before. I remember being so frustrated because I couldn't sleep, but I was so stressed out because I knew we had that tomorrow. And I was like, I really want to get this right. But that was, yeah, I could not sleep. I think I slept like 10 minutes. I'm not kidding.
yeah. It's like the day before first day of school.
Yeah, it was crazy. I couldn't do it. I was like, this is too much pressure. I don't want to, I can't sleep. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Patrick, you've been so generous with your time. Thank you so much for spending the time with me. Recently, it was announced that you signed with Iconic Ink Management
Yes,
to,
yeah.
yeah, to congrats, by the
Thank
way.
you so much. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah. So you'll be part of the crew. Brandon was announced not too long ago. So I know it's probably still early. Or do you have any insight of when you might start making appearances?
That's a great question. I mean, hopefully soon. I'd like to as soon as I can. I think we'll have to obviously wait for the show to drop just for, just to build a fan base a little bit. But
Yeah,
I'm hoping as soon as possible. Like definitely in the new year. I don't know if I'll be at anything before that, but if an opportunity opens up, then definitely I'd love to jump on as soon as I can. But thank you so much, man. This has been such great questions, and I really enjoyed talking with you.